So one of the biggest issues surrounding the shoulder joint is its shallowness. Compared to the hip joint, the shoulder joint is actually quite shallow. Now this is a feature, you could say, of being human because one of our nearest ancestors from an evolutionary perspective, the Neanderthal, had a far less shallow shoulder joint. Now this allowed his shoulder to be much stronger, his or her shoulder, I guess, the Neanderthal species shoulder to be much stronger, but far less mobile. So the Neanderthal was not able to throw spears or projectile weapons nearly as well as human beings were. And that, some paleontologists believe, is part of the reason why we outcompeted the Neanderthal. As you can see here, the shoulder joint. It's a ball and socket, but that socket isn't very deep. Contrasting that with the hip joint, you'll see that the hip joint is actually quite a deep socket. So much so that it occludes the ball. Can't see all the ball because the socket is deep. And if you delete the pelvis, then you can start to see the head of the femur, the ball. But you have to remove bone to do that because the socket is quite deep. So that creates a lot of stability around the hip joint compared to the shoulder joint. The problem with that is if you develop a muscular imbalance in the shoulder, mainly one where your humeral depression, that is the ability of this bone to move down, is reduced, then you can start to wear away the supraspinatus tendon. This happens when the supraspinatus, due to the humerus not being depressed, runs into this bone, which is part of your scapula. This is a part of the scapula called the acromion. If you've ever heard of a hooked acromion, it's where some people have an acromion that bends downward into the bursa and into the supraspinatus, and they'll start to fray the supraspinatus tendon.